Hi everyone, welcome back to another North Green video. Today we're looking at pivoting using SSH. So what do we mean by pivoting? Imagine you're on an external network, but you've compromised a machine that sits in a restricted internal network. That machine has access to resources that you can't get to, things like databases, web apps, other computers. Pivoting is what we call that process of using the compromised machine as a stepping stone or a jump box to reach deeper into the network. One of the ways we can to route our traffic through the compromised machine, making it seem like we're inside the network. In this video, we're going to look at two types of SSH pivoting. We're going to look at static port forwarding, which gives us direct access to a specific service. And we're going to look at dynamic port forwarding, where we use a SOCKS proxy to be able to scan the entire network, where we can look at all the different devices and services in a network. Now, in this lab environment, I have my Kali machine on a 10.10.10 IP address, and I want to gain access to a simple web app on the machine 50.50.50.101. But unfortunately, there's no route for me to get there. Fortunately, in this scenario, I have compromised a server in my network that is dual NICed and can be used to allow me to tunnel my traffic into that 50-50-50 network range. So first, let's check that I can't just get to that 50-50-50-101 web app. I'm just going to open up Firefox here, and we're just going to have a look at 50.50.50.101. And we can see this isn't resolving to anything. It's not getting any results back. It's not showing me that web app. I can also port scan the machine just to see whether or not I can get to that port. Just got to look at port 80. We can see we get no results from Nmap. Now we can also run this with pn to check that it's not just that the machine is refusing to respond to a ping. So there we go. So this result shows us that the port of 80 on that machine is not coming back as open. So what can we do? Well, we can do static port forwarding. If we know what port is open on a machine we're interested in, we can do static port forwarding. And to do that, we can just type SSH-L to say what local port do I want to map a service to. I'm going to use 90. Then I just give it the IP and the service that I'm interested in. And then I have to give it a way to access that through my compromised machine, through my jump box. So I have the username and password of a machine on 10.10.10.137. This is my tunnel into that 50 network range. We can see I'm successfully authenticated. So now if I go to Firefox again, you can see I still can't get to 50-50-50-101. But if I change this to 127.0.0.1 and port 90, then we can see the default Apache page is rendered in my browser. This is because that port has been mapped to my local port 90. That remote web app is now mapped to my local port 90, and I can interact with it as though I was talking to the remote machine. So we've been able to access that web app in a network that we can't get to. And if I go back to my terminal and exit out of this connection, the port forwarding will stop. And if I refresh this page, you can see that now port 90 is no longer mapped to that remote service. Now, this is great if we know what machine we're interested in and we know what service we're interested in. But what if we don't have that information? What if proxy chains to support this SOX proxy and then give it the details of my compromise? Once again, we've logged into that machine, we've established our SSH tunnel. This time, if I go to Firefox, I can try and turn around and say, let's go to 50.50.50.101. But this isn't yet tunneling its traffic through that SSH tunnel. Instead, what I'm going to do is open up a new terminal, and I'm going to type proxy chains Firefox. What this is going to do is it's going to load up the Firefox application, but it knows that all its data should be tunneled through that local port of 1080, which is being used for our dynamic port forwarding. And now I can navigate to 50.50.50.101, and I'm able to get to that web app. So this just shows how dynamic port forwarding can be more helpful. We can still go to the actual IP address that we're interested in. And it's not just services like Firefox that go through proxy chains. We can turn around and start exploring the actual network. So if I turn around and say, I don't know what services are running in that network, and I don't know what machines are live in that network, what I can do is I can turn around and say, I'm going to run proxy chains and nmap. And I'm just going to look for a couple of common ports. Let's just look for 2280 and 445. And this time, because I'm using dynamic port forwarding, which is tunneling all my traffic through that jump box, I can do these kinds of scans. I can turn around and start exploring the network properly, as opposed to static, which is just looking at one specific service. So we can see here, we get back nice nmap results. And we can see that 101 has SSH and HTTP open. 102, SSH and HTTP. 103, clearly a Windows machine with SMB open. 104, we don't know. We don't know what that machine might have. But this means that I can now interact with any of these services that I want to, because I've been able to scan the network. So let's stick with web apps because they're graphical. But I can now go and explore 101 and 102. Here's 101 again. And we can see that we can go to 102. This is why dynamic port forwarding can be really powerful, because we're not stuck with a specific service that we're interested in. We can instead scan an entire internal network. And that's it for this video. The main focus was on that ability to do SSH port forwarding, a static port forwarding. The command was using a -L. You give it a port and you tell it what machine you are trying to get information from and how you're going to get there. The dynamic port forwarding, we set a dynamic port for a SOX proxy, and we turn around and set what machine we're using as our jump box. I hope you found that helpful. As always, if it was useful, please like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next video.